Tonight on Toxic Tuesday, episode 46, we're going to continue our conversation on suicide awareness. We'll talk about some causes, we'll talk about who's affected, and we'll also bring up some rates, and you know we got to talk about self-love. I also invited show therapist Elijah Irving back once again to give his professional opinion about this subject. I thank you all for tuning in. Let's talk about it. This is another session of Toxic Tuesday. Therapy for the people. Hello, my beautiful people. It's the King Omar Sharif. I welcome you back to another Toxic Tuesday where we turn our bad into good situations. Toxic Tuesdays are all about you, your mind, your body, your soul. I believe if we can control those three things, we'll find happiness. Tonight's agenda for Toxic Tuesday, we're going to keep our conversation going for Suicide Awareness Month. We're going to talk about some more causes. We're going to talk about some numbers that are quite alarming. And of course, we got to end the show with some self-love. I also brought back again our show therapist, Elijah Irving, to give us some more of his professional opinions on this topic. And I'm going to bring him out now. One more time, y'all. Give a big round of applause for our show therapist, Elijah Irving.
What's going on?
Sir, welcome back. Welcome
What's going
back.
on?
It's always a pleasure having you.
Yes, sir.
Say hi to the people. Wait to the people out there.
What's going on, everybody?
Hello, people. Hello. You all cool? What's up,
What's going on?
All right. So I thank you again for coming out to the show, showing your support as we try to show support for the people out there.
Always. Thank you for having me.
The great thing about this, you're a professional at this, so you're always helping people every day of your life. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I look at that and say, wow. So I want to take as much as I can from what you do on a professional level and share it with the people. So that's why I have this platform, and I really thank you for coming and giving us your time, all right?
Yeah, thank you
And I'm
for
sure
having me.
everybody out
Appreciate
there
that.
feels the same way.
Yeah, I hope so too.
From the bottom of my heart, I mean it. All right, so we want to talk about some numbers, which we didn't talk about last week. And when you start talking about numbers, I think that it kind of opens your eyes a little bit more, because suicide or suicide attempts, that's not something that you normally would see on the news or in your paper. It's kind of probably just put into some file. And then at some point they say, okay, this many people tried, or this many people were successful at committing suicide.
Right. It's always, you gotta look for that information. It's not
Right.
You're not gonna.
It's not gonna be given to us.
It's not gonna be given to you. You gotta really look for it. And on a day-to-day basis, I don't think a lot of people are really thinking about, I wonder how many people committed suicide last year or the year before.
Unless you have like some type of connection with someone you know, or somebody that knows somebody that you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, so we want to dive into some numbers. Now, we don't have like super current numbers for like the year 2023, because when they do this research like on the CDC, it takes time to get these numbers together. All right, and they try to give us as close as possible to what they think. So one thing that I thought of was how many people actually committed suicide in the United States in the year of 2021. Of course, that's, still coming back from COVID, going through all those lockdowns, people transitioning in life, whether they lost jobs, whether they lost family members. So a lot was going on during those times. But the report is on the CDC that almost 50,000 people committed suicide. Now, when I hear that number, 50,000 people is a lot of people, right? In most cases, that's football stadiums. Okay, so when you think about how many people were unhappy with life, unhappy with themselves, lacked that self-love that we talked about last week, and actually tried to do it, that stands out a lot. Now, what's even more alarming, everyone, please, they said almost 1.2 million people tried to kill themselves or thought about killing themselves. Matter of fact, I think it was they thought about it. Okay, so that might have been something that was reported on the CDC, but had to be through somebody like in your position.
Right.
Where they had, some type of poll where it said, oh, 1.2 million people thought about killing themselves.
Right.
And like I mentioned to y'all before, I've had these thoughts in my dark times. Thank the Creator again that, He pulled me through it to say, no, you have more work to do. And a lot of us have more work to do. We just don't know what that work is. Or we're not putting in enough work, again, to actually see these things come into fruition. Okay? So when I say those numbers to you and to you out there, like, how does that make you feel?
I mean, it definitely makes me feel like so many people are still hurting inside, and year after year, I feel like it keeps getting worse. And no matter how, I don't want to say no matter how much we try, but it's just that I still feel as though there are just more and more people that need help, and they're not getting it.
Definitely.
So I still feel like it could be a lack of resources. It could be a myriad of reasons why, and even for people, this just to talk about this kind of problem of suicide and thinking of suicide. I think that no one wants to tell someone else that they have been thinking about suicide. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot like we said last week. There's a lot of embarrassment and shame that comes along with that, and wanting to get pulled out of that place is actually having to talk about it, and talking about it can kind of just push you back into that hole.
And puts more pressure on you.
Right.
Now, I want to release some of this pressure because I would love to promote things like this. Wouldn't it be awesome if we had campaigns and ads and marketing directed towards self-love and encouragement, almost like a tour? You know how your favorite artist goes on tour? They go on tour all around the world. Here in the United States, they go from city to city to city to city to city. Wouldn't it be nice if we had like pep rallies and things of that nature where people could just come to and we could just uplift so many people who may not have those individuals in their life,
right,
to actually say, all right, yo, you need to do this, you need to do this, this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to really like motivate them and pick them up. A lot of us don't have those resources.
Right.
A lot of us can't say, okay, I know where to go when I'm feeling down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oftentimes you're down and you just stay there.
Right.
But I would love, and maybe we can make this happen. You know what I mean? Maybe we can hop on planes and get those buses and go from city to city and really like bring communities together and really promote self-love and love for others.
Right.
And that tomorrow is another opportunity for us and we can make the best of it. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to get out those dark days. So I think that would be beautiful. Now, another stat that I saw on the CDC, it said that a decent amount of those individuals, when they looked at age brackets, the age bracket that stood out to me was the age bracket of 10 to 14 years old. Now we're talking about our children, y'all. Our children are committing suicide from as young as the ages of 10 to 14. So I think that may have a lot to do with a couple of things. It could be a couple of things. I'm just kind of going. But it could be some type of abuse at home, mental, physical, some type of lack of love. But it also can be when they leave the home and they have peer pressure. Here's that word again, bullying. Right, we all have to deal with the good and the bad at school, and once we leave our nest at home. And that's if our nest at home is a good nest. So what do you think about peer pressure? What do you think about bullying our babies, basically 10 to 14?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things. I feel like, towards those developmental stages, you're trying to figure out who you are.
Yes.
And also who you are within multiple groups of people.
Yes.
So I mean, there's a lot of figuring out, and then you're being made fun of for being different or having a different opinion, and
Looking different. It could be many
even.
different reasons.
Right. It could be a myriad of different things.
Your skin color,
Right.
like
Right. And, or the way your hair looks. So it's
Right.
just like there's a lot of
the way you dress,
Right.
which then has to go with, could be your style, but it could be your lack of money. You could be dealing
Right.
with hard times. You may come from a family that's not as wealthy or privileged, but go ahead.
Right. And it's just that, I feel like a lot of these kids just don't know how to respond with that kind of adversity.
Right.
And they don't know, they're still trying to get the nuances of, sarcasm or, joking and joking around and stuff like that. Just trash talking, things like that. So,
And a child may be coming from that bad home or background where they want to lash out and try to make somebody else feel like them.
yeah, there's that too.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, the bully could be coming through some stuff that they don't know how to articulate, so they project that out into the other kids. So it's just like the saying goes, hurt people, and it continues that cycle. And then once the pressure gets too much, like we said last week, they don't feel as though that they can escape this. They don't feel like it's a way out because everybody else, or maybe like a parent, right? They'll feel like, okay, my parent, my mother, my father, or both of my moms, both of my dads, they don't understand what I go through on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
They don't deal with that.
Right.
But they may think that in their mind, and they may very well just say that to their parents, but they may not really understand that they may be more alike than different.
Yes.
As far as their parents could relate to a lot of that.
And I just want to jump in really quickly and say, because you made me think about this, parents, you have to talk to your children on a regular basis. Don't think because of the way you're raising them at home. Don't think because you asked them, hey, how was your day? And it was like, oh, it's okay. And they kind of just leave it at that. Oftentimes, they don't feel comfortable enough to share the bullying or the peer pressure that's going on at school. And what that does, if they don't have that opportunity to open up and communicate about everything, or if you're not really on top of it and trying to get them to communicate that something's wrong at school, you'll never know. And I'm sure if us as parents, or the parents that lost their children due to suicide from those ages, or any age, because you never want to be a parent at your child's funeral, you know what I mean? But if it's due to suicide, you always feel like, what has happened? Like, how did this happen?
Right.
I'm sure you're shocked, just like all of us are, but when it's your child, it's like, I don't know, it's like gut-wrenching, but you feel like there's something that you could have done to prevent it.
Right.
But by that time, it's too late. So I just want us as parents, because I'm a parent, and I just want to make sure that I'm actively communicating with my children and making them feel comfortable enough to speak to me about whatever may be going on. Now, I know in our community, and I know just a quick little flashback, I remember when I was younger, and it made me tougher. I kind of had a block bully, right? He was good at fighting. So it came my day to fight. And I was out there rocking with him. And he got his licks, I got mine. But I remember a lot of us when we fight, and especially when you're that young, I was crying, but I was still getting it in, right? And I remember going home and clothes all looking crazy. My grandmother was like, if you don't go out there and whip his ass, I'm going to whip your ass. So I think in our minds, when it comes to fighting, whether we win or lose, or if it was a draw, we kind of keep that away from our parents. I remember getting jumped, probably by like 10 dudes. I was in 8th grade or something like that. They was in high school already. Jumped me. But I didn't go home and tell my family that's what happened.
Right.
I kept it to myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know why I kept it to myself, but I just didn't feel comfortable enough telling them. Probably because in my mind, I was thinking like, I need to get some revenge, or you know what I mean? That's not something I want to include my grandparents in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to figure this out. I'm tough. And that's oftentimes how we raise our children. We want our children to be tough.
Right.
You know what I mean? We want our children to win the battle and get through it and be stronger and learn whatever lessons you got to learn. But not all children are built that way.
Yes.
Not
all children are fighters.
Right. I'm a lover. I want to love y'all. And all I talk about is self-love nowadays. But I just think like we just need to get to a place where there's understanding, there's comfort, and the way we were raised before may have not always been the right way to go about things. And communication and being open and honest about everything with your child and just being active could go a long way. Right?
Absolutely. Having these conversations with your kids. I mean, sometimes the kids are not going to really be too open about everything because, again, you're their parent. So that when they tell you certain things, that parent instinct is going to come in, and some parents can't help it. Some parents can't just like push that to the side and compartmentalize that. Some parents can't do that. But I mean, it's going to be very important for people to learn how to compartmentalize certain things to be able to have an honest conversation with their kids. Because a lot of the times, kids are scared to talk to their parents about things because they don't want their parents to be disappointed in them. And they don't want to be judged by their parents. So that's another thing that, you have to kind of put yourself back when you were their age and try to relate back to that age, that time when you were that age, and how, okay, I wish I could have this conversation with my parents, but here my kid is trying to have this conversation with me. How would have wanted my parents to react or say or talk to me when I was my kid's age? So try to put yourself in your kid's shoes for a little bit and just listen. Don't try to just be the parent all the time. Sometimes you gotta just listen and not just be overbearing and just like tell your kids what to do, what to think, what to say. Because sometimes it may be very different, and you may have to challenge yourself to think in a different way and think how to communicate differently with your kids.
I like what you said about that right there, because we are the parents, right?
Right.
Rightfully so. But at the same time, when it comes to listening and just being there and just being present and just being an ear, it's like people frown upon parents when they be like, oh, you trying to be your child's friend.
Right.
But sometimes you need to be your child's friend.
Yeah, sometimes.
Because they may not have a friend that they can talk to.
Right.
And they may need to feel like, all right, I don't want mom or dad judging me or putting me on punishment or giving me this type of lecture, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully you want the best for your child, but sometimes you really do need to just be a friend so you can help them out in the areas that they struggle with socially. Right? So do something for your babies, y'all. 10 to 14 is way too young for our children to feel like they need to end their lives. So that number stood out to me. Another number that stood out, which was one of the leading numbers in the age brackets, was 25 to 44.
Right.
I mean, if you think about yourself when you're 25 and how you're going to be when you're 44, what could be going on? I know I hear that word midlife crisis. I've never experienced it, thank greatness, but at the same time, we spoke about how things change in your life, but you got to be strong enough and resilient enough to get through it. So 25-year-olds, that's way, way too young. I mean, 44 is way too young as well to be done with life. But I just try to think about what somebody could be going through to make them feel like, all right, I'm 25 years old and I have nothing to live for.
So, I mean, it could be a lot of different things. I mean, they could have made a mistake. They could have some, drug or substance abuse issues. There's that too.
They say that's one of the leading causes, though, because people get so caught up in alcoholism and substance abuse and doing all types of different drugs that depression, you think you're escaping, but you could be running right down the path to death. But
absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it could, there's a lot of, kids in marriage, loss of a job, potentially. So could be, some things in the stars that just happen to you where it's just like you have this loss of identity in a sense. And then that could be enough to kind of just be like, okay, who am I without this job? Who am I without my wife or without my husband? So who am I without my kid? Sometimes
it's like your possessions identify who you are,
right,
and what you have,
right. And even
it shouldn't be that way.
Sometimes when children die too, from cancer or through suicide
or accidents.
Sometimes parents go through that as well, and sometimes they may think about suicide that way as well,
right,
within that age bracket. So there's a lot of things can
right, many factors.
Yeah.
All right, so we were talking about bullying and peer pressure. So let's transition into something a little different. And here in America, we know we have a race problem here. And hate crimes, for me, often lead to not only disgusting decisions, but oftentimes the person who takes innocent lives ends up killing themselves. So we recently had an issue in Florida at a Dollar General where 3 black people lost their lives. And they were saying that the white, he was a young man. I don't know how old he was off top. I would have to go look that up. But he looked like he was probably in his 20s or so. But he hated black people and swap stickers and all this type of stuff, and ended up taking his life. So it's like you have a premeditated mission to go and alter families' lives, go and take lives, and then at the end of it, kill yourself. I never understood that. Why somebody would have this mission to go on where they would go and kill other people and then kill themselves at the same time. So that's a different form of suicide.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing in my mind, I don't know too much about this, but I'm just going off the top of my head with this. I really would think that this person who's had whatever reasons that they, like in a think tank or some kind of vacuum where they're online probably talking about all these things that are in their head about certain groups of people, and then they get in their head and say, like, okay, well, instead of talking about it, we got to do something. But then once they realize what they have done, and there's no going back from that, because it's one thing to fantasize about doing something like that, and it's another thing to actually do it. So when this person went in the Dollar General and killed these 3 people, that's when it hit him. He's just like, okay, well, probably especially from the past of the numerous mass shootings that have been going on in this country. Too many. He's got his couple days, or maybe his little tabloid here and there of fame. But was it worth it?
It never is.
It never is. But then it's just like he's probably thinking like, okay, I killed these people. Now I'm going to die by the police, or I'm going to die by my own hand, or I'm going to die in jail.
Let me put this out there, because you mentioned tabloids and news and coverage.
Right.
Now, this is something that's been going on for years. Okay? We lost way too many good people, way too many innocent people to hate. And I really can't tell you any of the shooters or killers' names.
Yeah.
So while you're out there trying to seek fame and carry out these deadly missions, which not only kill other people, innocent people, which will end up destroying your life, whether you survive or not, nobody knows you. Like, we're so in the moment. Once it happens, it happens. Once it's over, it's over.
Right.
So if you're chasing clout, if you want to be somebody that's going down in history, oftentimes that's not going to be the case. People don't remember stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then and the second thought too, like, you know, these people that are doing these things, these horrible things, these horrible shootings, they're also hurting too.
Definitely.
Something's going on with them, and they feel as though, like, yeah, they have these thoughts, these unfiltered, unchecked thoughts, but there's something underneath that.
Yep.
There's something underneath that they, you know, they're projecting all this stuff because of a loss of something that they have, a loss in their life. Maybe they can't get a job, or, you know, they can't do something, or they feel as though something bigger is going on.
Or they're copycats.
Yeah, or they're copycats.
Or they're raised to hate.
Right. And there's just like this, there's all these different things that is really masking what's underneath that this person has not really been able to fully process and talk about. It's easier to just blame other people for their problems. A lot of times, people need to be accountable for their lives. And I feel like within this new generation, within this new time that we're in, no one wants to take accountability. It's easier to just expect things to be easy. And we have this entitlement culture too. And once people aren't getting what they want out of their life, they blame other people instead of themselves. I mean, it very well could be, you know, lack of resources and things like that. That's a completely different topic. But to kill other people, to blame them, you know, to justify killing them because they're to blame for your losses in life, doesn't make sense.
Not at all. Again, so we're talking about hate crimes and things that come from home. Right? Which again is why parents, please communicate with your children. Please be a part of their lives. Please know what they're doing in their rooms when you're not around. You know what I mean? So keep that door open of communication. Now, another thing as parents, there's a lot of childhood trauma, right? Which is why what our children see, oftentimes they're going to mimic, which is why I always try to hold myself to the highest esteem around my kids, because I know they're watching. I know they're listening. I know they're very moldable. You know what I mean? And that's something that I can control to the best of my ability. So how I speak, how I punish and raise them. Some people are affected by some type of physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse. There's many levels of abuse. And your child, while they're being molded, that's something they can hang on to for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely, right.
And it ends up being something that's very dark. And something that they don't know how to control or get a grip on or know how to talk about, which can lead them down a road of wanting to hurt themselves. So, I mean, communication and demonstration, you know, what we show our children, because even the adults that you were just talking about, they were children at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why you just got to be very active in your child's life.
Yeah, I mean, we call it modeling in therapy world, where it's just like you want to model, you know, how an adult, a mature adult, should behave and respond, not react, respond to certain situations. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have flaws, you're gonna have faults, because you're a human being, you're an emotional being. So there are gonna be days where you're just off kilter. So,
do you have many conversations with children?
yeah,
You do?
yeah, like
Do they open up?
adolescence, not like anything,
Yeah.
anyone lower.
I
but
mean,
yeah.
that's still a child to me.
Yeah.
Do they open up?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they open up.
Do you hear some alarming things like, wow, like, okay. And then you're there.
Yeah, I've heard some stories, man.
And then you're there to give your professional advice.
And sometimes.
How far do you have to go sometimes?
Sometimes,
Like if it's really bad.
if it's really bad, you gotta call like CYS and stuff like that.
Or whatever your local.
Report, what crimes could have been committed that have been disclosed to you. So there are things like that. I mean, that's the deepest it can go. That's the farthest it can go. Or to get to the authorities involved. But I mean, a lot of the times, most of it is really just them talking about, difficult things when it comes to their parents and how their parents are and what their parents say to them. And it's very, it's upsetting and it's dark that a parent could say some of these things or treat their kids in ways that you wouldn't imagine a parent to treat their child. And, trying to support and be there for this kid that's telling you that their own parent is doing to them, is like hurting them either emotionally, mentally. So it's very difficult to do that. But again, to still be there, to listen to their story and to try to help them maneuver through that, and then to even give them the strength, let them know that they have the strength to get through that, is amazing enough. Because this too shall pass at some point, until they're old enough to really go out on their own. So
let's try to raise our seeds right, y'all. And with that, I want to talk about self-love again, and promoting self-love to your children, promoting self-love for yourself. One thing that I think we need to do a lot less is being so critical of ourselves and criticizing ourselves. Give yourself a little leeway. If something doesn't go right, try again. If something doesn't go your way, try another way. So that self-analytical part of yourself needs to be held with a little grace, and be patient with yourself. And just don't quit. Just keep going and going and going. Another thing that I believe is very vital in the self-love process is self-care. So I'm always trying to make some time for myself, away from everyone, away from everything, away from the normal, just to kind of reset things, just to kind of realign myself, because we always have something going on. We always have bills to pay. We're always going to have responsibilities. You know what I mean? So
right.
I just think it's important that we find that balance, whatever it may be in your life. How important is balance to somebody's psyche, in your opinion?
I think it's the most important thing, one of the most important things that an individual should do is to try to maintain that balance. And one of the things that I think the Most High has provided for us would be nature itself. It's healing. It's taking a walk. It's healing within itself. Breathing that fresh air. Hearing the birds, hearing the animals, seeing animals, and seeing other walks of life is around you, surviving, thriving. To kind of make make life a little more enjoyable because you see that it's bigger than just you. And then you're just, a small fraction of it, but you still have your own contribution to it. Mm-hmm. And it gives you still like some sense of a purpose with it. And I think balance lives in nature because you get balance within nature itself.
I love nature.
Storms and the clouds after the storms. Mm-hmm. It's like the clouds after the storms are like one of the beautiful clouds you can see.
Right. You told me you do a lot of hiking and stuff like that.
Camping and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I can see why you said that.
Yeah.
That made me think about it.
And that can be a good source of like, something that you could say for yourself is good. It can kind of get you out of that, that dark space because, if you build your own campfire, you pitch your own tent, you go out and you get the firewood.
You feel good about yourself, like you accomplished something.
Yeah. You cook your own meal with the minimal equipment that you have, with something as simple as just like a campfire, and you have some sense of sustenance with that. You brought some water with you. You brought your food. You got shelter. So you could be amazed with what you can do with so little, and then that could just be enough to just be like, I went backpack camping in the middle of the woods somewhere.
Especially during a time where we have so much.
Right.
Like we're spoiled with so much.
Right.
So I can see why you said that.
Yeah.
And while you're feeling accomplished and feeling good about yourself, like, look at that fire I just pitched.
Right.
Look at this meal I made with these stones and sticks.
Yeah. Look at these s'mores I just made.
Right.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, you need to run to a mirror afterwards somewhere and see yourself with positive self-images. So I like to do I ams, right? I ams, and you fill in that blank with something positive. I am strong, right? I am enough. I am loving. I am an extension of God. I am beautiful. I am worthy. There's so many I ams that you can tell yourself in that mirror that can make you see yourself in a different way. Because oftentimes you don't have anybody there to pat you on the back. You don't have anybody there to say, hey, I'm going to give you all these compliments today. You got to compliment yourself. You got to look in that mirror and love what you see. And don't let anybody else out there tear that down because of what they're telling you they see. That doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter, even though we allow it to matter, because we were made exactly how we were supposed to be made, uniquely and different. Eli is who he is. I am who I am. Everybody out there is who you are. But what you need to be is proud of who you are and happy of the individual that you are. So that's very important to me. And I haven't always done that. Y'all, I've gotten to a place where I realize the importance of telling myself things like this, of speaking affirmations, of looking for positive quotes and coming up with some of my own. Like, that's the beauty of life, growing and knowing that there's more. So remember that, y'all. Love your mirror. That's very important. And as you see how I'm talking, I feel pretty motivated to love myself, and I feel pretty motivated to go and achieve all the goals and the way I see my life playing out. So when you have self-love, you'll be motivated to do better. You'll want to go and achieve everything. You'll want to start a plan, because they say planning is a very big part of achieving your goals. So a lot of us fall short because we don't think that we made it as far as we should have gotten. But maybe you need to change the plan. Maybe you need to reconstruct the blueprint. And that motivation should come from not getting to where you want to be. You should always be chasing. And whether you're there or not, you'll be able to get some satisfaction from that. Life satisfaction. They say the best part about the journey is trying to get to the destination. Everything you learn, everything you do, all the experiences, the rights, the wrongs, before you actually get there is the best part. Because you get to look back and be like, look what I sacrificed. Look at the time and effort I put into this. That takes love of yourself. That takes love of life. And then I believe with that, you'll be able to find your happiness, because what I tell you, just the mind, body, and soul control, and I believe those three things, we'll find happiness through that. That's what happiness is. Your mind, your body, and your spirit. And you being able to look back and saying, this grind, the rain, the pain, the sunshine, everything was worth it. And it's all a part of your story. That self-love story, that victory story. You got a victory story?
I got plenty of victories.
Plenty of them, right?
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm sure you all have victory stories.
What you say last week?
Fight for the
Fight
light.
for the light?
Yeah.
Ooh, we gotta fight for the light, yo. Fight for the light. I love that. I had to bring it back this week. Fight for the light. I didn't forget it. I might need a shirt that say fight for the light. I might make it. I'm gonna send you one,
Yo,
too.
yeah.
I'm gonna send you one. So this is all about self-love, which I believe is the key component in overcoming your fears, overcoming your doubts. Now, if these videos weren't able to help you enough, which I'm praying and hoping that we're able to help somebody out there, again, you can dial 988. There'll be a professional on the other end waiting to hear where you are so they can assess how to help you. Eli mentioned last week, you can also visit your neighborhood hospital, your local hospital. There should be somebody else there to help you. And your greatest help is going to come from above. It's going to come from the Creator. Pray, y'all, pray, y'all, pray, y'all. Please. Don't be afraid because of whatever you've done in life, wherever you are in life, your life can be changed. I believe that. Now, with that, I have another challenge for y'all, and I hope last week's challenge was a good one, and I hope it helped you out. And I hope that you're able to go back. That was the self-love letter challenge. When you write something good down about yourself, and whenever you're going through it and doubting yourself and going through something bad, you go back and read that letter of all that gratitude and appreciation and self-love of yourself, and it gives you a boost. This week, I feel like I'm an artist, and Eli's an artist. So I want to challenge your creativity this week. I want you to draw something. I want you to write a poem. I want you to paint something. I want you to make some music. I want you to, whatever your creativity inspires you to do, I want you to do that. But when you do it, I want you to include yourself in a positive realm. Let that image include you with something positive. Your life is something positive. And whenever you feel like you need to pick me up, again, maybe this would be an outlet. I always felt like a lot of us don't know what our gifts are because we don't try to do enough things. You may be the most creative person on the planet, but because you haven't attempted to do a certain thing, you may never know it. You could be the next or the first, but this creativity challenge will allow you to go and try different things that you may have not tried to do before. So let us know how that works. You can post a picture of what you've done or send a song or whatever creativity thing you thought of to do. Share it with us in the comments. We would love to see it. and hopefully it'll inspire somebody else. Like I'm pretty sure it would. What would you do for this creativity challenge?
I like writing.
Okay.
I like to write.
What kind of writing though? Would it be?
So it'll be anything that I like to write.
Poetic?
Sometimes
Would it
could
be a movie? What? A
It
book?
could be poetic, but most of the time that I write is like small, short stories.
Okay.
I like to write short stories, like little creepypastas,
Okay.
little horror stories. That's
Okay.
what I like to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, find your outlet, y'all, if you don't know what it is already. That's a beautiful thing. Also, subscribe to the channel. This has been another week, another interview, another guest, I should say, here to shine light for y'all. Like, share, comment, do those things. Hit the notification bell. I will be here each and every week with another Toxic Tuesday. More content to come on top of those Tuesdays. I promise you that. I'm working on some other things as well. And I just want to help somebody feel better. That's all. We're spreading love out here. There's not enough love in the world. And I just want to be a vehicle for it. All right? So let's have some toast time. So last week was blueberry juice. This week, it's homemade lemonade, baby. I might just get a stand. I might go outside tomorrow. $5 a glass. Hey, this homemade.
Hey, that's homemade lemonade.
And it don't got no garbage in it.
Right.
I'm a man of the people. I might make it $1 a glass. But this toast again, y'all, is going to be to leveling up in life, knowing that you are enough, knowing that you are important, knowing that you are a gift from God, knowing that the self-love that you have will allow you to have love for others. This is to better relationships with ourselves. This is to better relationships in our marriages, to our spouses, to our girlfriends, to our friends. You are a friend of mine. You are a family to mine now. And just know that there's another opportunity for us to be great. You don't have to end it. Keep going, keep fighting, keep being strong, and let your light shine. Thank y'all for tuning in to another great Toxic Tuesday. Thank you again to my guest, Elijah Irving, for coming on to the show.
Yes,
I'm sure he'll be back again for some more great topics. And that's love, y'all. See y'all next time. Ooh, that's good. Homemade lemonade.
You gotta give me the recipe for this.
Sipping in the shade. All right, y'all. Love y'all.